All right, my Renowned fam, welcome back to the Renowned Leadership Podcast. As always, I am your host, Stephen Morris, your amazing freaking host, and don't you ever forget it. I'm Stephen Morris, and I am so blessed and thankful that you all decided to listen to me today. And today, I don't even have words really to describe my guest. His name's Harvey Wizard. Obviously, that's not his real name. He also goes by Poppy Azúcar. Poppy Azúcar.
Azúcar, yes. Yes, I mean
Poppy
sugar in
Azúcar.
Spanish, yes.
So sugar daddy in
There you
Spanish,
go.
basically. So go ahead, Harvey, and introduce yourself and tell people why they should listen to you.
All right. My name is Harvey Wizard. I am running for president in 2024. And I have a long history of doing crazy but impossible things. Yes, I'm an internet multimillionaire, award-winning photographer, documentary filmmaker, best-selling author, philanthropist. I built an orphanage in Ethiopia. And and I'm a stand-up comedian, Poppy Azúcar, with my own comedy theater in my backyard. But today, I'm here talking about my platform. Jobs for all, scholarships for all, brutal honesty for all. Brutal honesty starts right now. And at some point, I can tell my plan for both winning the presidency, which is a side benefit. The most important thing is that starting right now, I'm actually going to try to change the world and give anybody who wants one a job and show them how they can have their kids earn their own scholarships.
Okay. So first of all, everybody that knows me knows that I am strictly anti-politics. I don't like to do politics, but I made an exception for you, Harvey, because you're incredibly interesting and you bring more to the table than just politics. And I love the whole I can do impossible things mentality because I have done impossible things in my life. And I encourage everyone to try to do the impossible. So I'm gonna regret asking this.
Okay. All right. But when we talk about regret, you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say that in life, the true horrible regrets are the things you didn't do.
Things you don't, yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah.
That's right. So,
but okay. So first off, how did Harvey Wizard get on the ballot for 2024?
Well, it was a Sunday afternoon, and I was looking at all of the. See, we did, but I'm probably not going to get political, so I won't get too deep in it. I have a nickname for everybody running, of course, but I'll just say that I was underwhelmed by the presidential candidates, is what I was. And I was like, what exactly does it take? What does it take to do this stupid thing, right? So, benefit of the internet, go on YouTube and they tell you how to fill out the forms for the Federal Election Commission. Interestingly, they don't even ask for your social security number. You wouldn't need something like that just to be president or nothing, would you? I mean, kind of interesting, I thought. So no, and because they didn't ask and they didn't, correlate my social security number or anything, no problem with Harvey Wizard. Harvey Wizard, that's what it is. And then I said, okay, now this is cool because when you're the candidate, you can also be the campaign treasurer and the campaign record keeper, just to prevent corruption. You understand? Just to prevent corruption. So anyway, and then here I am in Costa Rica on a Sunday. And the one thing that I need to finish, my registration with the Federal Election Commission is the name of my business bank account and where the bank account is held. So that means I got to come up with, remember there's a Patriot Act? I don't know, just to refresh your listeners' memory a little bit. Yes. Yeah, the Patriot Act, it's just like, they're afraid everything is terrorism. And so they don't like money movements where they can't see you if they don't know you for sure, right? So generally, if you're a foreign person or something, you have to come into the bank, they need to see you and all that. But I guess there's been enough demand that there are these services now where I discovered, oh, I did have to get my social security number there. I can get a business bank account for Harvey Wizard for president. And they tell me and get my bank account number like that in about 5 minutes, which I was then able to use to fill out the rest of the Federal Election Commission form. And and then I did have to donate 5,000 to myself. That's the thing. You need a little bit of money. I had to just transfer it from my personal account into my Harvey Wizard for president account. And so it started as a lark, but I have it worked out how I could actually change the world. First, how I'm going to win the presidency. Shall I
How
tell
are
you
you
how?
going to win the presidency?
And you know this as a warrior, as a soldier, right? What you know is that if you're outmanned, if you're outnumbered, you have to use an alternate method. I mean, that's part of what the whole idea of guerrilla fighting came from, right? Because
Mhm.
it was groups that didn't have the same manpower, that didn't have the firepower, and they had to find kind of ways around to be effective in battle, right?
Correct.
So now that okay, I'm running for president, and then I actually did say I did it after the fact. After I was running, I was like, okay, what is this all about? So I started looking at all of these people and
Hang
just
on.
go ahead.
This is after he's already on the ballot, and then he's like, "Oh, I need a platform."
Yeah, kind of like that. Kind
But
of
that's
like
how it
that.
works. Yeah.
Well,
Greatest country
actually,
on earth, supposedly, and that's how our election system works.
thanks thanks for being on the podcast because now I have to show this in New Hampshire because that's one of the details. Because right now, well, the reason is that I'm actually see, I'm not on the ballot, but you don't have to be. And here's the wild snafu where I was just it's fun being, and on the world stage, let's just stop and remind everybody that on the world stage, it's been kind of a good time for short Jewish comedians running for office. I mean, maybe I'll get
This is
a
true.
standing ovation in Congress, just like our friend President Zelensky in Ukraine. But anyway, um, so like, okay, I started looking at all of these independent candidates, you know, and Jill Stein, every year she's raising money for 2% of the vote, 2% of the vote. I don't do things if I'm not going to win, right? So then I'm like, well, how could you actually make this work? And within the current system, where there's going to be somebody who's going to get the Koch brothers money and somebody who's going to get the pharmaceutical money. And so this huge, money reserves that you're battling against. And you can see right away, it's impossible, right? It's impossible. I mean, yes, you can get some notoriety and maybe it's good for certain things or you're putting your point out there, but you can't actually win. However, where's all that money going? It's going to radio ads, TV ads. And so the idea is that, if you want to compete in that arena, you need the money because that's where everybody else is competing. But what if we don't go to that arena at all? And I actually, through many conversations I had with people at the Federal Election Commission, I came to this and they agreed. I said, if I got 160 million people on my email list and they're all with me, and I send them an email, today's the day, go vote. And they all, even without me being on the ballot, if they just write in Harvey Wizard, wouldn't I win? And she goes, yes, you would. So a couple of things. Number one, and this is how I'm making this work, where I start from day one giving back. I offering a job to any and everybody. I'm going to do free job training. And the job right away is this. And change the world at the same time. I have the right way to teach kids the SAT. I have the right way for kids to study. I have the right way for kids to get into any college they want. I have a 100% success rate because basically it's somewhat simple. You have to be smart about it. And mostly you have to be willing to put in the work. And I tell everybody that up front. If you do those things, you've got it, baby. And basically for $400, I broke the SAT. I offer it to everybody. I've offered it to schools for free, and nobody would even talk to me because there's the monolith of the wrong way that the whole industry is doing it. So I'm basically letting parents know that they can not only do what's right for their kid, but for every it's basically an affiliate program. For every $400 course you sell, or you just tell somebody about, and they go to the link, you get $100. For my $4,000, unlimited tutoring guaranteed, and that's with not only a 1530 plus guarantee, I will guarantee if your kid does these things, they will get a full ride merit scholarship and or get into a top 25 school. I tell you exactly what the work is, this. No games, right? And then for that 4,000 is giving a guarantee that you won't get if you pay 80,000 or 100,000 in my competition. So my goal is to put them all out of business and reallocate the money by offering parents the money in commission by spreading what's a good thing anyway. And in the course of all this, what am I doing? Building my list. As I build and here's the other part. See, I'm thinking long term. Your video, well, because see, we've got video people, right? We've got video people. So people looking at me right now. So now's when I get to say, yes, I'm going to be 65 years old in March. I say that for a couple of reasons. Number one, I've got more experience than most of the others running, and I've got much more vim and vigor than Donnie Dum Dum and Stumbling Stuttering Joe. So I figure it may take me 12 years. I'm waiting to build the list, right? I just need a little bit of luck, a couple of virals in the way. And I'll still be looking pretty good in 12 years, I hope. And by then, I know your politics, but I'm waiting for the Trump supporters to die off, okay? Because the new wave is a lot browner, and I fit in perfectly with my Latina wife and my crazy ideas. So I will get there. I will both get to be president, and in the meantime, I'm going to change a lot of people's lives by teaching them the truth, which includes, even though I'm the guy who beat the SAT in the college admissions process, a lot of kids shouldn't go to college. They should be plumbers. And let me show you how to be a very successful plumber, very successful electrician, and balance things. And the truth is, if I win, I've actually got money out of politics. It's the one thing everybody talks about. I could single-handedly pull it off. I could, with some viral, I could pull it off this year, but I've got patience and time.
So your background is a polymath, right?
Yeah, yeah, polymath, the word polymath, which I'll admit, in spite of my amazing vocabulary, I did not know until it was presented to me by Wikipedia when I had uploaded my first attempt at a Wikipedia page. And the word polymath, as it turns out, means somebody who's very, very good, unusually good at many, many things, kind of like a Renaissance man. And the reason that my Wikipedia page was denied was because what they said was polymaths are so incredibly rare, it's much more likely he's lying. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, for some reason, I just had these, supposedly I have 169 IQ, which helps be able to do lots of different stuff. But yeah, I graduated high school in 3 years as the valedictorian of the year ahead of me. I went to Dartmouth, graduated a little bit early, Phi Beta Kappa there. But then I became a $150 an hour street musician because I figured out things that no other street musician had figured out, And then I created a personalized songwriting business, and then got two songs published in Nashville, two songs published in New York. I'm an amazingly good massage therapist, amazingly good. I had with my first ex-wife, the largest pregnancy massage center in the country at the time in New York City.
Pregnancy?
And I have a pregnancy massage, yes. because our hook was a special table that let pregnant women lie on their stomach.
Okay.
And because, see, if your offer is good enough, we rented a third floor walk-up 1 bedroom apartment because we had no money. And I started this business on $500, which eventually was making $3 million a year. Um, but we had very wealthy women like had the limo wait downstairs, and they'd climb those 3 flights of stairs because nobody had anything like this, and there really wasn't much massage. There weren't very massage therapy places on the Upper East Side, which is a very wealthy area. So from a business standpoint, I said, you know, let's just get in this neighborhood, anything that'll work, and then we will be where all the rich people are. And it worked fundamentally. And that's how we built it.
I mean, that's just a testament to, like you said, your offer. Like, just because I mean, that's a pretty small niche too. Because I mean, Upper East Side, like you got a lot of older people up there, a lot of, not as many pregnancies going on as, other
No, they weren't.
areas,
Well,
but
interestingly, um, the Upper East Side, Upper West Side, um, we got lots of corporate lawyers' wives. We got investment bankers' wives. This one woman that I'm thinking about, I remember with her, showing up in her limo. Her husband actually owned like a fleet of trucks that delivered food to supermarkets. And, she would tell, my ex-wife was her therapist, and, oh, yes, or, we spend about $10,000 a month on dry cleaning. I mean, just crazy, crazy. She had something like, she had a nanny who used to be the nanny for one of the shahs or something in Iran. I mean, it was crazy, crazy. We saw every kind of crazy money, so it was kind of interesting. One of our clients, absolute nuts, um, was a guest a couple of years ago on The Real Housewives of New York. So, I mean, I mean, you want to know nuts, and this is interesting. Nuts having too much money. This particular woman, I'm not going to name her now, but I will in my book. uh, in my book, I'm naming names, ruining reputations, destroying marriages, and who knows, maybe cause a suicide or two. We're
and your
both in the
book comes
war.
out
It's
March 3rd,
March 4th. March
March
4th.
4th.
Yes, but right now, anybody who just gets on my list ahead of time, it says become a wizard. It's real easy. You get the chance to buy the book for $1 on the day it comes out. So you get the ebook for $1, and it's basically a sneaky way to make myself an automatic bestseller on the day it comes out. But I've done that before. But you get the book for $1. It's a bargain. There's so much in it. But anyway, this particular woman, this is like crazy, crazy. Um, she, had a lot of money, and her husband, who's also in the book, real jerk. See, if you wait long enough, karma will kick in, or if not, as I like to do, karma needs a little assist sometimes, and I'm happy to provide that. But this guy, this jerk off, it was like so much. He was a trader, right? Just like in Billions that showed these traders, real, all testosterone, all testosterone. And I remember once, and they kept inviting us out to the Hamptons, and we didn't have that much money at the time. We were just growing our business. And then he took us to the most expensive place for lunch, and he goes, "We'll just split the check." And that check was like, 50% of our weekly earnings, you know.
What a
And
douche.
yeah, he was just really bad. They had Barney at his house, and the time our daughter was little, right? And it was all of his friends were at a table eating and stuff, and they had blow up. And Barney was there, so we run our daughter over. She's like maybe 18 months, 2 years, something like that. By the time we get back, these 20-year-olds had stolen our seats and wouldn't give them back, and we had to feed our daughter on the lawn, right? I mean, no, these are not nice people. And so then I'll tell you about the crazy wife. Um, First of all, she was coming every week, and this is how I know what she did was so bad. She by the third month of pregnancy, she already had her daughter named. She already had the birth announcements printed, right? By the third month. I guess at this point, her daughter was maybe 5 or 6 months old. She already had the baby, and she was attending my daughter's third or fourth-year-old birthday party. Evidently, this woman just couldn't stand not being the center of attention all the time, even if it's a 4-year-old, because one of my ex-wife's friends after the party said, "Oh, that's so sad. That's so sad about, your friend." And she goes, "Well, what? The dead twin. The dead twin." Yeah, she was saying, because she showed me, her daughter, and she goes, "Yes, it's so sad that the twin died, like at 7." And she created this story that at 7 months, at 7 months pregnant, she just miscarried one
Just
of the
one
twins.
twin?
Yeah, and just
Is that
one
even
twin.
possible?
I don't even know, but I mean, she made up this whole story. And the point was that we knew at the third month, what I'm saying from our experience, it's like, what a wacko. She she made up this story just to get attention at a
Uh,
4-year-old's birthday party.
Somebody in the
It's
comments let me know. I don't even think that's possible to miscarry one twin. I think it's both or none, isn't it?
I
Somebody let me
probably,
know.
but
I'm sure
again,
you're a
but
doctor.
when you're improvising for attention at a 4-year-old birthday party, you might miss a detail, one or two,
You're
one or
not
two.
getting fact checked.
Right. So we're like, well, this is crazy, right? And then is it any wonder? Then every so often I search for these people, like what trouble have they got into now? She's being sued by her babysitter for abuse and not having paid her for years. And it made the New York Times, but not as big as her hubby. Yeah, her rich hubby. Turns
Embezzlement.
out, no, insider trading. And in
Uh,
some ways, for this big alpha man douche, the real punishment was, in order to get out of jail, he had to wear a wire to turn in the guy on top of him. So talk about a man of honor. So these were our clients. We made a lot of money. A lot of money. And it's still somewhat like that on the Upper East Side.
I mean, I don't, whatever. Just
Yeah.
for real though, somebody please let me know if that's even possible. 'Cause I'm stuck on, because like that doesn't, like if you're gonna lie, at least
It was just, well, whatever she
at
could
least
come up with
I
at the
don't
time.
know. That's just so
It-
dumb. Miscarried one twin. No, I don't freaking know. I guess maybe so.
Oh, there's crazy, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. So before I go too far down that rabbit hole, I think I answered your last question
I don't
about
even
me.
remember what my question was anymore.
It was about you. You asked
I'm
about running for president and how I did it so quickly. That's and then we talk about they started this, the business on the Upper East Side, and I'll tell you, let's do life lessons, right? Let's do life lessons, and business life lessons. Isn't this about business too? People who listen when they
yeah,
have businesses.
yeah,
All right.
mostly, yeah.
So here's my very unchristian view of the world, in part based on this story I'm going to tell you. That really, when it comes down to it, everybody does what they can get away with, pretty damn much. It's whatever they can
Fair.
get away with it. And let me give you this story. So part of the way I did build the massage business and the $3 million business is I noticed a loophole in the insurance company's contract, very specific. The contract, which was, I guess, a national contract, said that we will pay for prescribed physical therapy procedures when provided by a licensed professional. They'll pay for physical therapy procedures when provided by a licensed professional. At the time, New York State was one of the few states that licensed massage therapists, making them licensed health professionals. And the very procedures that a massage therapist would do, especially if you're doing deeper massage as we were, was medical massage. It was prescribed by the obstetricians. So we did everything right. Okay. And the massage therapists were licensed professionals according to the prescription. And yes, it happened to feel good, which is what this whole mess is about, right? See, we flipped it. We figured out that we're going to get it prescribed. The doctors prescribed actively because pregnant women can't take medications that would normally ease back pain. So we've got these mostly, 35 plus women who are in more back pain than usual. And these contracts gave unlimited physical therapy as long as it was prescribed. So yeah, we knew what we were doing. I mean, we were saying, come in for your 2, 3 massages a week. You deserve
Right.
it. And we'll just bill the insurance directly. You don't even have to lay it out.
Wow. Read
Yeah.
the contracts, people. That's the lesson. Read the contracts.
But here's the lesson after. So everything was going along smoothly. We were doing everything in the referrals. Everybody's happy. I mean, the insurance company isn't happy. They don't like to pay money, but
No one cares about their happiness, though.
well, but here's why maybe I should have, because because it was, I guess, around 2008. There was some kind of economic downturn. And that's where I learned that insurance companies make most of their money off of reinvestment of premiums in the market and things like that. So when the market tanked, suddenly the insurance companies aren't making so much money. Now they're looking at where can we cut expenses? We stick out like a sore thumb. Look at all of that physical therapy of pregnant women in this one, we're like doing 2000% more than the whole rest of the country, right? And all along, what I had assumed would happen at some point was the insurance company would realize that we had milked the loophole in the contract, and they would change the contract, and we'd have to do something else. Right? That's what I figured. But no, they use their own loophole, which is that if an insurance company even says they suspect fraud, they don't have to pay.
Mm.
So essentially, they stole $300,000 from us. It was all under contract. We did everything right. They used the fact that they could bully us because they had lawyers, they could just kill us in the legal fees. And after spending $30,000, an attorney that I trusted, it was like a guy that I knew from college, and was one of the best in the country. And yeah, so we were just out the $300,000. But but that's how I became an internet multimillionaire, because I was so scared I was suddenly going to lose my new house that I had just bought 8 months before. And I said, at least if I can find some way to make $3,000 a month to pay off the mortgage so I don't, to like lose the house or all that. And again, you know, the insurance guys didn't much care about me, but I pulled it off. It was the early days of affiliate marketing, and I started noticing what other people were doing, these booklets that they were selling, and I was like, oh, I can outsell that guy. And then during the course of this, I got banned for life by Google 4 times. You got to think about that. Yeah, exactly. Because I kept coming back on. And the things I got banned for were never illegal. It was just, I figured I did something that Google was like, oh, we should have thought of that.
We should have made that against the rules.
Exactly. I was very proud. I think there were 2 new Google rules that were made precisely about my stuff. So that's kind of, but I made probably gross close to 30 million over 7 years. Um, which whatever was left went to ex-wife number one. I agreed to give it to her. Whatever was left, because, she's got that fleet. I mean, I still owe her money for that fleet of climate-controlled storage spaces. She needs it to provide a comfortable, cozy home for all the crap she can't stop buying. You may have seen her on an episode of Millionaire Hoarder. But that's that, that's where my money went. That's where my money went.
Is that really a show? I don't watch TV, so I don't know. But
No,
is
it's
that...
not.
Oh,
No, it's
okay. I
not.
was gonna say,
No,
holy
it's not.
crap.
No, it's not a real show, but it's pretty funny and
Well, there's
apropos.
your next multi-million dollar idea. That would be hilarious. I'm sure that
Yeah,
would be
see, they
awesome.
would. Who knows? Everybody likes publicity. I love reality shows, because you start out. I mean, sometimes when I watch reality shows, you watch what people are wearing or how they're presenting themselves, and you think you have to remember when this person woke up in the morning, they knew you were going to be on TV, and that's how you dress. You knew it wasn't surprise. You knew it. I mean,
You
okay, you
wonder
get.
sometimes, man, like what goes through people's heads because, like, yeah, that will do. Like you said, no, bro, that won't do. Like,
Oh,
what was Brittany's ex-husband's name? Federline, Kevin
yeah,
Federline. Is
Federline,
that?
right, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like every time I saw that dude on TV, that was my exact thought is, did you just wake up and like, how can I look like a total douche today? Because you always look just like a total douche. Like, yeah, it blows my mind sometimes what goes through people's minds. But
Well, yeah, actually, and here's another when we talk about blowing your mind, we go to people's minds. Um, talking about business or business owners that people are always talking about. Um, oh, that awful boss, right? Well, any any boss who's been around for a while has talk about the crazy employees. My favorite interview ever was a woman who was interviewing for a receptionist position. Not 5 minutes in, she made sure to let me know that she got fired for the last job because her boyfriend is a stalker and he showed up with a gun. Yeah,
she told them
she
that.
she told me that. I was interviewing her.
Oh, it was you.
I was interviewing this woman, and within the first 5 minutes, she volunteered that she been fired for her last job because her boyfriend showed up with a gun. And I said, "Are you still with him?" She goes, "Oh, it was just having a bad day."
That's a pretty bad day.
Which would never happen if you weren't for me. And the other one, which was great, was this other woman was very lovely at the interview, very, very lovely. And we asked for a reference. And this is why I barely actually ask for references anymore. Because unless someone's a complete moron, they're not going to give you anybody who's going to say anything bad. And this is a perfect case of it. Lovely interview. She gives us the reference. We called the woman up and she's like, "Oh, only positive things, only positive things." We hire her. The day arrives for her to arrive to work. She's not on time. And then we call her machine like, 20 minutes after time. And the machine says, "Off to Tahiti. Bye." And, and so then we called the woman who gave us the reference. And can you give us any insight into the woman who was supposed to show up today? And her answering machine says, "I've got to Tahiti by." And she was like, "Oh, I really thought she'd gotten past that."
Just ran. Did she come back and expect to have a job?
No, she never came. No, the woman was like, she was severely mentally ill. And,
Oh man.
no, we never heard from her again. We, so I so whatever. I know there are crappy bosses out there. I try to be a pretty good one, but oh, the
Yeah.
stories. And then there was I'll end with Candy Girl because we were, as I mentioned, providing massage therapy to pregnant women. And and this one, I forget her real name because we called her Candy Girl. Um, she was a bit overweight, but I mean that has nothing to do with what happened. I mean that, or maybe it does, but we kind of a satellite office, and there were two treatment rooms, and one of the rooms was being manned by a woman who had been with us for years, who's really, trying to make the company grow, perfect employee. And that's how we found out the story, that she knocked on the door of the other treatment room because she had to see a client in there. And there she finds Candy Girl. We offered for pregnant women little chocolates in bowls because frequently, there's sugar drops, so you want to make sure they're comfortable, and so you have and
Hmm.
and we actually paid. It was pretty nice chocolate, like a little, because for the clients. Our our friend therapist opens the door to find Candy Girl with every single bag of chocolate open and laid out on the massage table, and she's picking through it for herself. And when she did, when our friend said, "What the heck are you doing?" And she goes, "I'll be done in a few minutes. I just need to finish up." And she goes, "No, you're done right now." And so she became Candy
Did,
Girl. I mean,
did she put them
so
back?
no, I mean, no, I mean, it was just that she stopped taking, that she at least cleaned the room up. I mean, it was, like I said,
No, I mean, like
sometimes
you said, she was picking through it. Like, was she just picking her favorites and then putting the rest
for
back
her
in
to
the
eat
bag?
later. Yeah, yeah, in a separate bag for her to eat now and later. She,
Good
she was
grief.
making herself a little doggy bag from our chocolate store. Okay, that's what Candy Girl was doing there. Just to be really clear, she's making herself a doggy bag or two. Okay, so yeah, so
I mean, yeah, it's funny. Well, like you were talking about jobs for all, and while I understand the sentiment, it's hard to provide jobs for people that don't want jobs. So, like, you like you were talking about your SAT program. You know,
mm-hmm,
if you do the work, well,
right.
unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to do the work. So, what is the solution for those
The
people?
solution is everything, and it's funny, and I've learned this word, everything that I do is performance and commission based. Nobody gets like you know,
Hmm.
nobody gets like straight salary. They get paid way more, but it's always performance based. And interestingly, relative to this problem I have with receptionists, right? And these, because and it's funny, when I was hiring receptionists initially, we gave it to a temp agency to screen the people and to send it to people, and we'd pay them, and they were never very good. And then I said, I'm going to change the game, and I took an ad out that said, entry level, um, something like, or learn the medical, some learn medical marketing.
Hmm.
College graduate, and then there was a base salary plus performance-based bonus. Nobody was offering college graduates a salary plus performance-based bonus.
Hmm.
And we got people who sold their butt off, did things that I probably wouldn't have done myself. Like, because it's a woman, she's talking to the pregnant woman, and they know they're getting this performance-based bonus at the end of the year based on, now you're not just answering the calls, you're actually trying to further the business and make sure that they come
Upsell,
in.
right?
And then I found out later they were saying things that I probably wouldn't have had the guts to say or the nerve, like, well, um, we have the real experience with pregnant women, and I don't know if I was pregnant if I'd trust going to one of those other places. Do you know if they have the capacity in case something happens?
Hmm.
Stuff like that. Just like real, you know,
But you never know with pregnant women. I mean, sometimes
but
things
no,
can start leaking randomly.
yeah, that's that stuff like that. But see, if a guy says it, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's the totally creepy.
But I
Gotcha.
totally agree. But they would just, they would push. I mean, we provided great, and it was a great service, and it was free. So, we
Hmm.
weren't pushing people into things that they weren't going to enjoy,
Right.
Um, but nonetheless, once we did that performance-based bonus, we had an amazing staff, and that's how we kept growing. And you know, um,
So
go ahead.
Harvey Wizard wins the presidency, whether it's 2024, 2028, or 2032. And that's right. You committed to at least 12 years, right?
Oh, until I die,
Okay.
or
So,
I gotta.
so,
It's incentive to keep looking good.
so you win the presidency, and, like I said, it's jobs for all. But what is the plan for the people that don't have the desire to pursue that commission bit? Because I mean, still, even you can offer someone, the best commission salary type platform in the world, and they still won't
Hmm.
perform. They just don't have the desire. So what do you do? And I know I don't like to do politics, but
Yeah, well,
fine, here we go.
yeah,
Here we
well,
go. Hang on.
go ahead.
Uh, you know, whichever side, we've created this horrible welfare state. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, like you can't deny that. We've created a horrible welfare state. The COVID stimulus checks, horrible plan economically. So like just that was dumb. And all it did was further the welfare state. So how do we get people out of this welfare state of mind? Because this country was built to what it is because we weren't a welfare state. You were where you're at because you didn't expect handouts. You took them when you could get them, but you never expected it, right? Like
Well,
you're laughing. Go ahead.
because the time I scammed the food stamps. I'll
Scam.
scam the food stamps. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I just do things because I'm like, wow, if I could get away with this. So here's the thing. It basically it was one notarized lie. Okay, one notarized lie.
One
And
notarized lie. That's all
right,
people. Like,
so, but here's how we did it. Here's how we did it. We were making like 150 an hour in the street. Um, because again, marketing. I was at the half price ticket booth. It used to have a configuration where people kind of wrapped around the island at Duffy Square and Times Square, four deep. And I had the two mouse amps, battery powered amps. You could hear me on the whole island, 4 hours. And then I created these special collapsible, like these tall collapsible buckets for the money that were right next to the line to make it easy for people to just throw it in like a church donation or anything. They didn't even have to get out of line to put money in our cases. So we're making like 1,000, 1,500 a week, right? And then I said, what does it take to get food stamps? Well, because we're basically completely off the grid, right? It's all change, So it's like nobody knows what the heck we're really making. And so I call the friggin' office and say, but I know, you find out what the minimums are. You got to be making like $200, $300 max a month, right? So I call with my sob story, doing everything I can, singing in the street, and we're making $50 a week. Would I be able to qualify for food stamps? They said, well, if you bring us a notarized letter that says you're making $50 a week, and if there's no record of you making any W-2 money or whatever, and that's what you say, and obviously you have to be making money somehow or you wouldn't survive. So then um, may have been some other, maybe we had to get some fake lease too. But anyway, the part I remember that was
how
such
the
fun.
lies grow.
The part that I remember that was such fun was then you have your interview, right? And this would have been like in 1983 when my ex-wife was a vegan and we were very vegan and it was weird. It was pretty weird at that point. You know, I mean, it's obviously, you know, vegetarians, it's become more acceptable, but it's pretty weird. And I knew that. And so with almost tears in my eyes, I was like, we have to eat sprouts. We're eating sprouts. And the woman was like, no, no meat. I said, no, no, no. She felt sorry for us and probably gave us a little more. But and my ex-wife was down to the fanciest health food store and would buy like the fanciest health food treats with my food stamps. But the interesting thing is that, and again, you can't refuse it. When they give you food stamps and you have a baby, they automatically give you Medicare. Automatic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we didn't have that much money at the time. And it was actually helpful because we needed a couple things and some,
I
yeah.
mean, I'm okay, like 100%. I've used what is it? You have a baby.
A Wix or something
Yeah,
like for
Wick. Yeah.
right. No,
My ex-wife and I used Wick, but I mean, I was a young soldier, but you know, we had no money and it helped us survive. 100% I'm okay with that. Never think, I don't want anyone to ever think I'm against that. It's the career. This is our life. And
no, I absolutely agree with you. And yeah, I'm just admitting that I've done things that I'm yeah, I know, you know,
so
the
what do
problem
you,
I was gonna say that I'm not proud of, and it's like sometimes I just get so frustrated with it. It's just that feeling of power, you know, when the system is against you, and you're like, I got back at the system. And
no,
I'm running for
and
president, but
I, I am 100% okay with cheating the system because our, you know, our government sucks. But so, you know, Harvey, I was on deployment once, and people get upset about, you know, our withdrawal from Afghanistan. We left all this equipment and, you know, like $8 billion worth of equipment. Well, that isn't that big of a deal. And I say that because I was on a deployment. We had a Connex, like a 40-foot long Connex full, top to bottom, front to back, of copy paper, just reams and reams and reams of copy paper. Why we would need all that said copy paper, I have no idea. We're literally in a third world country fighting a war. Like, what are we making copies of that much? No clue. But we took it, whatever. So it's time to go home. We don't have enough room because, you know, things happen. We didn't have enough room in our connexes to take everything home, so we had to empty some out. What was the first thing to go? The copy paper. Why? We didn't need all that copy paper. So what
right,
did we
sure.
do with it? Did we go to the market, the local market, and sell it? Nope, didn't do that. Did we donate it to a good cause? Nope, we didn't do that. We burn it.
I burn was the first thing I thought.
We burnt
How to make
literally
something big
hundreds of
small real
thousands of
fast.
dollars worth of copy paper. This is our government. This is what our government does, and it absolutely infuriates me. Man, if the military alone was a private business, it would have gone bankrupt millennia ago. The first year, probably. Anyway, so
But fun,
back to
but to,
go
because
ahead.
this I'm just going to segue real fast. This is see, I'm going to say you always want to say what is the bottom of everything that if we fix it, then everything's going to be easier to fix, and that is money in politics, because all of this stupidity in government is based on every politician spends all their time fundraising.
Right.
So what I'm suggesting, and even if I'm not the one who does it, if I create the recognition that you could actually win the presidency entirely via the internet with people helping you this via email, which can actually be done virtually for free. It may not happen. Do you see what I'm saying? It is
Mhm.
the way out, because I would rather have multiple candidates with huge email lists essentially competing with each other, and you see what the poll numbers are. But then I mean, why do you have to use TV advertising? Why do you have to use radio. If people prove that it's more efficient, it would actually create a new model, which makes sense in so many things, right? We don't use pay telephones anymore.
Right.
So relying on kind of TV advertising and radio advertising, where all this money is being spent, and they're spending on postcards. They friggin' spend this money on postcards.
Which goes straight in the trash 99.9999% of the time.
What I'm saying is that a lot of this stupidity, all of this comes down to that no politician is truly free.
Right. They're beholden to the money, to their donors.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
So if I can create a model, then at least we have the ability to move. There's at least the hope that we can move to a system that wasn't, because when the money's in the whole thing with Halliburton, that idea, well, no, it's because then the contractors are paying them. Everybody's got their hand out.
Right. No, I
Right?
agree. I agree 100%.
So anyway, that's my plan. That fundamentally, I don't even care if it's me, but if I can create a model that shows you could actually get somewhere without having to be beholden to the big money. See, Bernie Sanders did it a little bit, but he still was in the money game, right? He was like, oh, I got the money from from small donors, but it still wasn't going to be as much as the big money. And in the end, and then his message probably was too far to the left, a number of things. But he got a little bit there, but he didn't make it, because once you get into the money game, unless you side or take the money from the people who are going to control you later, you don't have the autonomy. Say,
I mean, no, I agree 100%. The money in politics needs to go. Especially when you start talking about wars and handouts, or not handouts, but everyone having their handout. Yeah, I am 100% against that. I understand to an extent it's a necessity, but it shouldn't be. People one of the things people like to talk to me about is my opinions of the Iraq and Afghanistan war, and my general stance is we were there for a good reason initially, but the 13-year war and the 20-year war didn't need to happen. Both those wars could have strategically been over in just a few months, and that's what we should have done. We were waging a war. There is no good side to war. War is just bad. So, like, stop pretending that we're doing all this good. We're not. We're destroying a culture. That's what war does. It destroys a culture, right? We're the only country, society, government, whatever, that has ever rebuilt a society after they've destroyed it. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, but the government doesn't need to do it. Because if I've learned one thing after all my years of working in the government, is the government is incapable of doing anything right. Like, private industry, on the other hand, man, you put a private company in charge of rebuilding the infrastructure of Iraq, they're going to get it right. They're going to get it the way the people of Iraq want it, right? And that's my problem with, like, everybody gets medical. Like, I don't want government paying for my medical because the government can't do anything right. Therefore, the doctors that work for the government providing my medical aren't going to do anything right. I want to pay for it myself, because if I pay for it myself, that doctor has the fear in the back of his head that I'm going to fire him. And if I fire him, he no longer makes money. And so, I'm not about politics, people. It's Harvey's fault. But no,
yeah.
I agree completely. The money needs to go. And I think the government needs to go. It needs to stop trying to dictate so much, and it just needs to let go of its power, which again is solved by taking away the money. You take away the money, the government starts to lose its power, and the power starts to go back into the private industry and the private people's ability to control their destinies and their outcomes, which I think is, and again, that's what made this country what it was. And the only way I think to get back there isn't with Trump or Biden or any of those other schmucks. It is to take the money away and just give it back to the people and let the people create. because that's what we do.
And at the same time, the same mentality that you're, complaining about, it's I see it in the parents of even the wealthier parents of kids that we work with, where it's also a change in, I think, generational parenting. But my teachers are seeing this where I think after the pandemic, especially, parents have gone sort of crazy with how like more helicopter than ever before. I mean, there was a parent who was actually doing the SAT practice tests with the kid. And the whole thing of practice is this idea that you've got to practice for a year, 30 minutes a day. You've got to get it so deep. It's a level of mastery that nobody is even thinking about or admitting that this is what their kids actually need, you know?
Mhm.
So it's this maybe it's partly people are giving up. So if I'm going to say that, back when the coal mines, when people realized, hey, we don't want coal, the coal,
Mhm.
and the politicians could have seen at that point the coal is going down. See, that's when you create a coal miner training program. Maybe you teach, what I'm saying, that you move them into something else that that's growing, so you don't create the disaster. I mean, excuse me, that's a lot of what the disaster has caused. That's a lot of what Trump appeals to, people who are left behind because people in government who could have seen it and seen the problems for people in certain situations didn't realize that could now be an opportunity for both them and to make change. Because again, the money stops any true innovation or creativity that could be applied to the situation. A lot of the
Yeah,
stuff is obvious, you know?
I agree. But again, it's right back to money because that's not where the money is. Like, had they done those things, that's not, that doesn't make them the money. And this is where the conspiracy side of me comes out, I guess, is that, when you have people dependent on the government, then you have control of the people, right? Because, I'm giving you this. If you don't, vote for me, then you lose this. And that's not the government's role. That's not what they should be doing. Um, anyway, I digress. I'm done talking about politics.
Well, but
Damn
the,
it,
the answer
Harvey.
the answer is entrepreneurship fundamentally. It's either entrepreneurship or at
Correct.
least,
Let me throw this at you real quick
sure.
because you brought it up. In 1906, 94% of Americans were entrepreneurs. They owned their own trade, they owned their own business, something. And a lot of that was hand me down, right? So my dad was a farmer, so I'm a farmer. My dad was a blacksmith, so I'm a blacksmith. My dad was a cobbler, so
Hmm.
I'm a cobbler. A banker, so I'm a banker type thing. Like you were just born into your trade, whatever it was. And then you went on to further the family business or create your own independent business. So back in 1906, literally the vast majority of the country owned their own thing. And then not even 10 years, I think it was like 1911. By 1911, it had completely flipped to where like 90% of Americans were employed.
Hmm.
It's insane. I'll send you the article I read about it.
No, yeah, I love that statistic, and it makes a lot of sense to me, and that kind of it bolsters what I'm saying, in that people have lost, if you want to call it that, the American spirit of, you can create something for yourself. And even to the degree with, the high student debt, that for many people, college probably wasn't the right thing, or at least right then, and then they end up in debt, and it's a mess where there are, I mean, my whole life is what's possible on the internet. I was just
Right.
talking, I was talking to, I was at my spa in the morning, and I was talking to the woman who owns the spa, and she's a real entrepreneur. And I mean, my Spanish isn't good enough to tell her everything I want to say, but but we kind of talk business, and she's, she now she has a clothing line. She's doing all these things, and And then I mentioned that my wife and I are going to start probably living in Europe for like 3 months at a time to end up being like 6 months a year in Europe. And she was like, on vacation for business. And I was like, no, when you work off the internet, you actually can be anywhere. And there's simple
Right.
things like Skype phone for $100. It looks like a New York City number, and you have unlimited calls from anywhere in the world. And between Calendly and Zoom, and um, so there, and this is not only it's not only available to me. We've met lots and lots of mostly people in their 30s, in different cities who are realizing that we even like there's a thing, trusted house sitters, where we had people come and stay in our house in Costa Rica while we went to Europe. And it was interesting meeting people who have a similar lifestyle, that ability to just go, from
Hmm.
place to place. And so that's the benefit of it, but you still have to figure out what can you offer to the world that the world wants. And that's the fundamental problem. That's actually in my book, chapter 5. Uh,
That was
don't
actually
get
where I was going to go, is the 65-year-old badass, 21 unconventional secrets to a life of health, wealth, and adventure. Um,
absolutely.
and that,
It
again, that's coming out March 4th of this
March
year.
4th, that's right.
Get on your
And
email list. You can get it for $1 the first
that's
day.
right. Get it for $1. No, there's really, I mean, it's I try to have something for everybody. That's why it's a how-to scandalous tell-all memoir. Okay. I don't know if that's been done before, but no, there's actually three like questions at the end of each chapter to make it real how-to, and then there's all the stories. But it really is, laying out, this is how I did it. This is how I look pretty good at 65. This is how I've gotten into the relationships I've gotten, which have been somewhat interesting. This is how I've made millions in all these ways. I mean, I put my felonies in there and everything. Though I've never been caught for one, but they were felonies at the time. But I think that I actually think that little lie, that little notarized lie, was probably felony. If
Pretty
you checked.
sure. I'm pretty sure it
Yeah,
is.
probably.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
what you're gonna do. But but there are these opportunities, and that's what the book is about, that you have to be willing to think outside of the box. And when you're in these crisis situations, that's usually how you get out of it. You have to see something that somebody else hadn't seen, or see something in a slightly different way that provides a true way out, as opposed to just doing the same thing again and failing over and over. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. The
one of the
definition of
secrets of
insanity.
success.
Uh,
Yes, exactly.
and I mean, I think for me, the biggest thing is just, and I'm not a promoter of hustle porn, but at the same time, just do the work. Being I won't lie, being an entrepreneur is uh, some of the hardest work I've ever had to do in my life. Um, Not physically, but mentally. Like you
Yeah.
said, I have to constantly think outside the box. I have to constantly just think of how I can make my offer better, like how I can, better serve my clients, better further my brand and my reputation and my name. Um, and I'm constantly working on my back end systems, my front end system. Like I'm constantly working.
Right.
And I think that's really ultimately, and yeah, it could be parenting, it could be the instant gratification process, systemic issue we have in our society. I want it now, I don't want to wait. um
hmm
am I making, the millions of dollars a year that you make? Not even close. I'm doing okay, you know but I'm nowhere near where you are, and that's okay. I'm okay waiting, because you know what, RV, one day I will be, and that will
All
be a
right,
good day.
but
But
I'm so now I'm going to tell you. Are we running out of time? I don't want to run you over, because I was
we
going to
we
tell.
are over, but it's okay.
All right,
It's
so I'm
my
going to
show.
tell
I
the
can do what I want.
so I'm going to tell you this last story, and
Okay.
that's also why I'm going to tell you at the end what I think, because we had a talk before, and it's something that other people, may have done. Um, this is a story of why I make it a point to give advice, or when I see a way out for somebody, or when there's a better way and I know it's a better way. This is how I do it. This is why I do it. I was 25 and I had I'd figured out, because I hadn't been on a date in 3 years, and I actually created a campaign to get married. I was like, I would like to get married. And I actually said, I'm going to figure this out. Right. And I was working in an ad agency, and I said, well, that's my strength. Right. Um, I understand how to market things. So I'm going to treat myself like a product. And this is back in 1983. And there wasn't toll-free, there wasn't the internet. There wasn't even those 900 numbers, or it was just in the back of the Village Voice, in New York. They would list the New York singles date phone and the Jewish singles date phone, and you would call these lines and you would listen to like 30-second recordings that would start, "Hi, I'm bachelor number 232. I like long walks," and whatever, right? And if you liked it, you actually had to write the letter and then wrap it in an envelope, but it worked. And I figured out how to do a better ad than anybody else. I got like 100 letters the first week. They started running my ad for free because it was making them so much money, because every time somebody responded, they had to wrap it in $1 and send it to the place. As a result, I got married within 6 weeks. I was legally married within 6 weeks from the time I started
And
which
that's
is all those.
ex-wife one?
That was ex-wife one. Yeah.
Okay.
Ex-wife one. Yeah. I mean, it was a mistake. It took me 28 years to get out of that one, but it seemed to click, and we were married after 3 weeks. And the point is, my ex-wife still had a commitment with her girlfriend to go to the singles dance. So there I go to the singles dance, while my ex-wife is the wing woman for her friend. I'm a newly married man standing around at a singles dance. It's pretty friggin' awkward. And I was just so happy that I saw across the room a guy I hadn't seen since Hebrew school. Wasn't a friend, just an acquaintance. But I was like, "They'll get me out of my misery." And I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he's like, "So what's new?" I go, "Well, I got married last week." And so, "Why are you doing at the singles dance? Why are you at the singles dance?" And I said, "Well, I guess I just did it so quickly." And I went through step by step when to write, exactly how to do the ad, what the content had to be, how to make it funny, but do it like this, do it like this, do it like this. Because so I'm talking to him for like an hour explaining how to do it. I don't see the guy for 6 years. I'm walking on the Upper East Side. I see him approaching with a very beautiful woman standing next to me, and she's pushing a baby carriage. And as he approaches me, he says, "Harvey, I haven't seen you for so long." And I was like, or he said, "Great." I knew he said, "I was just thinking about you." And I was like, "Well, that's nice of you to say, but we don't know each other. It was just like an acquaintance from Hebrew school." He goes, "Remember that talk we had at that singles dance? I did everything you said. And look and look, here's my wife, and look at my beautiful baby. And I really owe that to you." And then of course he took me aside, put his arm around my shoulder, and he said, "You did so amazing with the wife and kid. Think I could get a mistress who keeps her legs open and mouth shut?" But no, that last line is just a joke. That did actually, that I just couldn't resist. It's such a good punchline. But no, the truth, it was a very sweet thing. The truth was that I had, by this advice I gave him, I changed, or I'd given him the ability to change his own life. And I give so much good advice that it's rarely taken, but when it is, it's incredibly thrilling. So all I was going to say, since what you said about, not where you want to be, unless you're like, no, because you didn't also say I've had enough. And we talked about the thing with social media, and I believe that's a block for you. And I could show you so easily. You would be like, "Oh my God, why did I not do this?" And I know you have. That's what I'm saying, right? Because there's probably a way, or at least you should explore a way to, because of the cheapness of the leads you can get, you just can get more people, you could have better people.
Right.
And I really feel that would be life-changing for you. So it's a little sad for me when you were saying, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. It's a little bit of feeling,
No,
I got
I'm
this.
doing it now.
My
I just
horse,
don't
my
like it.
horse is good enough. Those cars will never last.
That's not what I said.
Okay.
And what he's talking, like, I do a 15-minute pre-interview before all my podcasts to make sure I vibe with the person that I'm interviewing. And we talked for what, 2.5 hours?
It was three,
Because
but
it was three. Yeah, at the end of it was my last one at the end of the night, and we talked until like 10 o'clock, and we, just shooting the shit. But no, I'm doing social media. I don't like to do social media. It's a cesspool of horrid. Ugh. Anyway, I
that's your
just don't.
mental block.
I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy social media at all. I would much rather be outside, even though it's -10 degrees right now and snowing. I would much rather be outside doing something than being on social media. But again, and I think that's another block for a lot of people is they have the thing they want to do, and but then there are the things you don't want to do that you have to do. So for me, that's social media. It was also podcasting at one point in time in my this. I didn't want a podcast, but my coach pretty much almost violently made me do it. Um, and I'm forever grateful that my coach made me do it because it's been very fruitful. But at the same time, you know, now I have a coach that's making me do social media, and at the current moment, I hate it. And eventually, probably a decade from now, I'll be like, you know what? I'm glad I did it, but screw you, Harvey. Social media sucks, man.
No, you realize I said that with love, right? I didn't have to say
Yeah,
anything. I mean,
absolutely. 100%.
right?
No, I take your
Okay.
advice very seriously, and I know you're right. And you're absolutely right. I do need to just grow up and do it and stop complaining about it.
But let's take it one step past this, which is part of, if to get somebody to really do something, there's even with what you just said about, you said you'd rather be outside, right?
Right.
So do you realize that you could just authentically tape things you're thinking or doing outside? You put that on social media, and that draws the people who would actually be attracted to you. You see what I'm saying? What I suspect is your reluctance is everything you're saying suggests a level of inauthenticity. You can actually bring your own authenticity to it, do it
Right.
in your way, and you see,
Yeah.
mold it into something that you feel. Because if you're not feeling comfortable, then it's probably not making a lot of sense because other people aren't going to relate to it in the right way.
Mhm.
So it's you have to find a blend between what makes you comfortable and what's going to give something to somebody else.
I would say because most of my social media is done on LinkedIn. I have started to try to build a Instagram following, working on that. But for the most part, my content's all on LinkedIn, and I can sit down and write a blog post or an article.
I wouldn't actually see,
And
I wouldn't suggest you do that kind of stuff.
why? But well,
Because
so anyway, hang on, let
go
me
ahead.
finish before, and then
Go
you can
ahead.
tell me. So like I can sit down and do that stuff in like 20 minutes.
Hmm.
I have no problem. I'm a really good writer. English is one of my strong suits. Writing is definitely a strong suit, and I can sit down and just have a thought, write it out in a cohesive, coherent, you know, piece of work, and then I have no problem sharing it with the world. Um, but to sit down and write a paragraph LinkedIn post can take me 2 hours because I don't know why. It's hard for me to write a post. And so what I've started doing, and the back end secret, is I take my blog posts and then I just take a paragraph, reword it, and that's what I use for a social media post.
But you
Now,
could just go on to chat. Yeah, but what I mean, I wrote this book in
Yeah,
7 days.
I use Chat GPT to, like, I didn't say I rewrite it myself. I use
Oh,
Chat
okay. All right.
GPT.
But yeah, but I mean, first of all, it shouldn't take you, you should be able to use ChatGPT to fix that stuff. But fundamentally, what I was getting at about social media, the way I think about social media is there's a very there's a very specific Facebook technique that where people actually will give you their name, email, and phone number as part of the ad. And I've been testing this for years. And the difference is if you just send them to a website, it might cost you $25 for the lead. If you do it this way, you might get it for $4. So there are
Mhm.
very specific things that are, as opposed to things like blog posts. I mean, that, putting content out there over time, people will see it and that boosts it. But the directness of advertising and especially Facebook, you're basically offering leadership coaching, right?
Yeah, I do leadership coaching, consulting, team building, management. I help create management programs, all that stuff.
Right. So all of those things, um, and again, there's way, I mean, are you doing LinkedIn advertising or are you just doing LinkedIn posting?
No, I'm just creating a following on LinkedIn. Like,
Right.
I don't
So
do advertising at all. Pretty much all my clients come from this or from referrals.
right. Well, anyway, we'll talk more on on our own time. We'll talk more
I
about that
mean,
on our own time.
I can't argue with you, and I hope you don't feel like I'm arguing with you because I'm
Oh,
not.
no, no,
You're the
no, no,
one
no. I
that's made
just
millions of dollars, not me. So I would never tell you you're wrong or try to argue with you. I'm just it's what I'm doing, and what I'm doing is what I'm doing. So I enjoy blogging. I enjoy writing. So that's why I do it mainly. I enjoy doing this, so that's why I do it. Um, it's the others, the social media stuff that I don't enjoy that I have to make myself do it. And I totally understand what you're saying that if I don't enjoy it, then it's going to seem forced. And you're absolutely right. I think it does seem forced. And I think that's what makes it even harder for me to do it is because I know it's crap whenever it could be better. But
but that
I
it's
have to find a way. You're right.
but you're not, you know what it all is? And then I'm going to surprise you. It's practice. It's practice. Because sometimes I will see something that I taped of myself like 6 or 7 years ago, and like I want to puke, right? Because I say I've my friend from college because he was trying to do some video stuff, and he was like, I just don't look as comfortable as you do. I said, you haven't done it for hundreds of hours either.
Right.
Right? Do you see what I'm getting at? It's,
Hmm.
it's it's all the principles that you've used in your whole life, and we all do that. We have principles that are we like, no, well, that's the only thing that works. That's the only thing that works. Then we go into a different arena, and then we don't bring it with us. We're like, well, that works at every place but here. Or I don't see how it works here. But it's the same idea. Think about that. That if you practiced and
Yeah.
got good at it, because I mean, you have an amazing part of it is you have an amazing story, right?
Hmm.
And uh, if it was presented in an authentic, honest, open way,
Hmm.
I just think it would resonate with so many people.
Right.
And it's kind of nice having people more banging it down your door than, worrying, am I going to have enough? And
True.
knowing that you can control that by by what the ad spend is. And you may be surprised that there are these techniques where you're like Facebook techniques where you're paying $5 and $10 a day. That's all you're paying.
Hmm.
And it's doing there's tricks to it. So like I said, it's a little bit sophisticated, but I think it's over time probably worth investing a little bit of time and the practice, and then you'll like it better and all that stuff. Uh,
I don't
That's all.
promise to like it better, but I no, you're totally right. I know that's where it's at, and that's what I have to learn. So, but I'm sure you also know the things you don't want to learn are the hardest to learn. So, I mean, it is what it is. But I'm disciplined enough. I'm gonna get it. it's going to require a little bit of extra time and extra effort. And keep in mind, I've only been at this for a year and a half. So
No, I
yeah,
understand.
you have about, well, you're 65, so you have about 40
No, I
years
said,
of
yeah,
experience on
no,
me.
no, exactly.
No.
Yeah, it
But
is
here's the
practice.
serious question, and this is the
Sure.
no bullshit
All
serious
right.
question.
Okay.
Can I be your vice president?
Maybe.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. I don't do maybe. Yes or no?
Um,
I would be an amazing vice president, Harvey. I have the
actually,
military experience,
okay.
right? Yeah. I have the entrepreneurial experience. I know how to lead, right?
You know,
I'm a
we've got to
lovable
talk.
person.
We this may be all right. I'm going to give you a yes, and I'm also going to tell you that I have all these things in the back of my mind. I'm like, actually, there is a space on the FEC form for vice president that's currently blank. I'm serious.
I'm your guy.
And I think I did have this I had this idea, but this one's better. Um, I was thinking of offering Nikki Haley vice president under me, and but the idea of it was to actually create a. People have talked about this at different times, creating a, having sort of a two different leaning, almost like a Republican and a Democrat as president, vice president. The idea that we're actually going to, to find what's
Mhm.
common between us and have these two different perspectives to actually, um,
Yeah,
potentially
I
change.
could do that. I'd be, I mean, I don't, man, calling myself a Republican is kind of cringy, but
No,
yeah, for the
but no,
purpose, I could do it, I guess.
it isn't that. We're not going to do that. We're going to declare us independent.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna. I have to go in it. I was gonna do the Democrat thing. The joke of the Democrat thing was when I found out that supposedly Joe Biden isn't on the ballot in New Hampshire. When you register with the Federal Election Commission, that just means you're a registered candidate, and that controls your ability to raise money. But you actually are supposed to go to every individual state to get on the ballot. Didn't have time for that because of this thing with Joe Biden. And then I found out there's a snafu and everybody has to write in Joe Biden if they want Joe Biden. And I was like, just as easy to write in Harvey Wizard, only a few more letters. And I just thought it would be friggin' hilarious. Like,
Oh man.
there's five write-ins for Harvey Wizard. And I just thought, but this actually, it could work. I mean, but my God, for a guy who doesn't like social media, I don't know what we're gonna do. See, that'll be your reason
But
to.
you see, I have no problem making videos and stuff like that. Like, I think, I don't know. I'll figure it out. I promise I'll figure it out. That is my commitment to you. I'll figure it out. But no,
Well, I'm excited. Look, who knows? Who knows what could
um,
happen?
yeah. So yeah, we're way over on time. So
Okay,
but that's okay. Like I said, it's my show. I can do what I want. But my people are just going to be a little upset with me. That's fine. Um,
the people who edit, you mean, or the
yeah.
or your family because you're late for dinner, or just
All of the above.
all of the
Um,
above? Okay, well,
but anyway, I appreciate your time, Harvey. You definitely are one of the most interesting people I've ever talked to in my life.
oh well, thank you.
It is. I know in your thing you sent me that you've been dubbed by other podcasters as the most interesting human on the planet. I agree. You're up there. Maybe not the most, but you're definitely up
That's all
there.
right. I don't need to be the
And
most. I don't need to be the most. I'm cool. I'm cool.
like y'all have to understand that I know a different side of Harvey because I've heard ex-wife number one, two, three, story three, right?
Three ex-wives and one
Yeah,
current one.
and current wife. Okay, so I've heard all those stories, and unfortunately, those stories aren't appropriate for my show. So you'll have to go find one of other Harvey's other podcasts to get those stories. But dear God, those stories just, I don't even understand how a human being brings themselves to this point of, I never would have, it's not even that. I would have never thought of it. Anyway, dear God. Anyway,
And it's all
I
in the
digress.
book. It's all in the book.
There you go. Buy the book.
It's all in the book.
March 4th. Buy
That's
the book.
right.
Get on Harvey's email list. You can get it day one for $1. Um,
There
so
you go.
yeah, but before I let you go, Harvey, everyone on my show has the honor of having the final word of wisdom. So my question is, what advice do you have for people to lead like champions?
Now I'm going to use a technique that I tell my kids to use in interviews.
Okay.
If you don't have an immediate answer that you know is smart, then you say, that's a really interesting question. Let me give that a little bit of thought, which I really am going to do it right now, because I want to think of the bit in terms of leading. And this is I got the good story and I got the
Of course you do. You have a story for everything, man. Let's go.
All right, but here, no, I'm going to use a story about how I gained the moniker of of Angel of Death at the medical massage group, where it's the yeah, and because sometimes people need to be
Is this
fired, and that
legal? Oh, okay.
no, because sometimes people need to be fired, and you know the funny thing is when my daughter was like 3 years old, and we were talking about firing someone who she knew personally. And she was getting really upset, and she said, "But if you fire Anita, she's going to have bad teeth." And we're like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "Well, when you get homeless, you have bad teeth." Because she was so detail oriented, she noticed the bad teeth among the homeless people in New York City, and and she was very upset about this. And then she's told one more minute. She said, "But she's bad for the business, right? So if you don't fire her, the business might go under and we'll be homeless." And then she changed her tune. But the idea of leadership is that you're looking out for everybody, right? Whether you're leader in wartime, whether you're leader of a company, whenever you're a leader, you have the responsibility and you have to see ahead. And in many cases, you have to do the difficult things. And that was one of the harder things I guess I had to learn as a leader, which was when you realize somebody's not good for the organization, which also becomes the easy way to do it. There was a woman I remember, the hard things of being a leader. She, I think her husband was dying of cancer and he couldn't work and she needed this job with us. And then we get the first complaint that she's bruising the women. Now remember, we're getting our clients coming to us from doctors, from obstetricians. So word gets back that we're bruising the whole, and at this point, we're making millions. We've got 30 therapists, and this one woman could bring us down. So first time we give her a warning, she does it a second time. We say, if it happens again, we're going to have to let you go. And of course, it happens a third time. So it was always, I got sent down, or I sent myself down at the end of a shift, whichever office they're in. So that was the angel of death thing. Like if you end your shift for the night and Harvey's there, it's not. So they already knew this. I had people say, they would just see me, they go, "I'm getting fired." All right. I mean, everybody knew. So she sees me, she bursts out into tears, my husband. But at this point, we'd already given her warnings. I don't know why she couldn't stop bruising people, but for whatever reason, it was just, deadly to the whole business. And no matter what she said, my bottom line was, I have to think of everybody, and this is bad for the business. I'm sorry. And then no matter what she'd said, I have to think of everybody. This is bad for the business. I'm sorry. And that's one of the tricks when you get into those difficult situations. You have the bottom line that if you just keep saying it, there's really not much they can say back after a point. And, it was an awful thing to do, but probably not as bad as shooting a guy's dick off.
I didn't do that.
I know you did. Your friends did it, but anyway.
Fair.
All right. But yeah, so that's that's what I have to say about leadership too.
I love it, man. Yeah, sometimes being a leader is hard, but but to sum it up, basically, you got to make the hard decision for the betterment of everybody else in the organization, and that's definitely what you did there. So, again, Harvey, I appreciate your time. Don't forget, folks, Harvey Wizard 2024. Write his name in, just like it's spelled, just like it sounds. Harvey Wizard. Write it in, and he's got my vote definitely because everyone else sucks. So, at least I know you.
There you go. I just have to be more places.
If I'm the VP, I have to vote for you anyway because I'm voting for myself. So there you go, people. Vote for me too. And then don't forget to go grab his book. Where can they get on your email list and find more about your book?
You just go to harveywizard.com. There's a red button all over that says Become a Wizard. You're on the list. You get everything. And you're going to get you're going to get job opportunities, all kinds. I mean, if you're a video editor, if you want to just work at home and you want to, I will show you how to take my videos, put them on YouTube and make money off of them. If you want to do that, if you actually like to talk to people, I will hire you in my sales force. If you know a business person who's having trouble and you hook us up, I'll give you a finder's fee. There's all kinds of ways to make money. And then I'm going to have free job training out to the list a little bit at a time as we go along.
I love it. I love it. And as always, everybody, his links are going to be down below. So make sure you go check him out, give him tons and tons of love. And then once you're done doing that, head over to renownleadership.com. Go check me out and give me tons and tons of love because he's already made his millions and he's
That's
old,
right.
So I need to love way more than he does.
I agree.
So there you have it, folks. That's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. I thoroughly, again, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed listening to all of Harvey's craziness. I know I do. I will see you all next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. In the meantime, do not forget, lead like a champion. Goodbye, everybody.